Naomi stood frozen in the hallway of her own home, her hand hovering over the doorknob to the home office. Her flight had been cancelled due to mechanical issues, and she'd taken an Uber home instead of waiting at the airport for 6 hours. She texted Trevor that she'd be late, but the text hadn't delivered. She'd assumed he was in a meeting. Now she wished she'd never come home at all. Trevor's voice carried through the door, casual and relaxed in a way she rarely heard anymore. "I'm telling you, Vanessa, sometimes I just wish she would die. Just some random accident or something. Then I'd be free, and we could finally be together without all this sneaking around." Naomi's purse slipped from her shoulder and hit the floor with a soft thud, but Trevor kept talking, oblivious. "The life insurance alone would set us up perfectly. I increased it to $2 million last year." She signed the papers without even reading them. He laughed, actually laughed. "Between that and the business, we'd never have to worry about money again." A woman's voice responded, tinny through the phone speaker. "Baby, don't talk like that. It makes me nervous." "What?" "It's not like I'm planning anything. I'm just saying it would solve everything. We could get married, travel like you always wanted, live in that house in the Bahamas you showed me." Naomi's legs moved without conscious thought, carrying her backward, away from the door. Her heart hammered so hard she thought it might actually stop. 15 years of marriage. 15 years, and this was what her husband wished for when she wasn't around. Not divorce. Not separation. She made it to the guest bedroom before her knees gave out. She sat on the edge of the bed, staring at the wall, her mind racing through every interaction of the past year. The distant looks. The late nights at the office. The way he'd insisted on handling all the business finances. The life insurance forms he'd brought home, telling her it was just a smart precaution for business owners. He'd been planning this. Maybe not her actual death, but he'd been setting up for it, hoping for it, fantasizing about it with another woman. Naomi pulled out her phone with shaking hands. She wanted to call someone, her mother, her best friend Tamara, anyone. But something stopped her. If Trevor found out she'd heard, if he knew she was on to him, what would he do? The man who wished for her death, who'd taken out a $2 million policy on her life and dreamed about spending it with his mistress. She couldn't trust what he might do. Instead, she opened her notes app and began typing everything she'd heard. Every word as exact as she could remember. She added the date, the time, the circumstances. Then she took a screenshot and backed it up to 3 different cloud services Trevor didn't have access to. 20 minutes later, she heard him coming down the hall. Naomi stood quickly, smoothed her clothes, and grabbed her purse from where she'd dropped it. She walked out of the guest room just as Trevor emerged from his office. "Naomi." He jumped slightly, surprise flickering across his face before settling into a smile that no longer looked warm. It looked calculated. "I thought you weren't getting back until late? Flight got cancelled. I tried to text you." She kept her voice normal, even managed a tired smile. "I just got home. I was about to change clothes. Oh, my phone's been acting up. Might need a new one." He stepped closer, and Naomi fought every instinct telling her to back away. He kissed her cheek, the same casual peck he'd given her 1,000 times before, but now it felt like a betrayal. "Rough day?" "Long day," she corrected. "I'm exhausted. I think I'll just take a bath and go to bed early. Want me to order dinner?" "I ate at the airport." The lie came easily. Everything would be a lie now, a performance until she figured out what to do. "You go ahead though." She walked past him toward their bedroom, feeling his eyes on her back. Once inside with the door closed, she leaned against it and tried to breathe normally. Her reflection in the dresser mirror showed a 40-year-old woman who suddenly looked every year of it. Dark brown skin that usually glowed now looked ashen. Natural hair pulled back in a neat bun, professional clothes that cost more than they should because Trevor always insisted on appearances. Trevor who wished she would die. Naomi ran the bath water as hot as she could stand it and locked the bathroom door. While the tub filled, she sat on the closed toilet lid and did what she should have done months ago when things first started feeling wrong. She Googled divorce attorneys in the city. She found 3 with excellent reviews specializing in high-asset divorces and financial fraud. She saved their information. Then she Googled something else, forensic accountants. Because if Trevor was talking about the business like it was his to spend with Vanessa, if he was confident about life insurance money and traveling to the Bahamas, he'd been planning this for a while. And if he'd been planning, there had to be evidence. Money didn't just disappear. It left trails. The bath water was about to overflow. Naomi turned off the faucet and sat in the hot water, letting it burn against her skin. The pain felt almost good, something real and immediate to focus on instead of the howling emptiness opening up inside her chest. She'd loved him. God, she'd loved him so much. She'd built a business with him, supported his dreams, stood by him through his father's death and his failed business ventures before they'd finally found success together. She'd been faithful, loyal, devoted. And he wished she would die. Naomi sank deeper into the water, letting it cover her shoulders. Tomorrow she would call those attorneys. Tomorrow she would start building a case. Tomorrow she would begin the process of tearing her life apart to save it. But tonight, she let herself grieve for the marriage that was already dead, killed by a man who didn't have the courage to just ask for a divorce. Tonight, she cried for the woman she'd been yesterday who trusted her husband completely. Tomorrow she'd become someone new. Someone who trusted only herself. Architected narrative tension through strategic character development and evidence accumulation. Chapter 2 should show Naomi's strategic planning and evidence gathering. She's pretending everything is normal while building her case. I need to show her strength and intelligence while keeping the tension high. 1,000 words. Naomi woke up the next morning and made Trevor breakfast. Scrambled eggs, turkey bacon, wheat toast. His coffee exactly how he liked it, with 1 sugar and a splash of cream. She set it all on the table and kissed his forehead before sitting down with her own meal. You feeling better? Trevor asked, scrolling through his phone while he ate. He barely looked at her. Much better. I think I just needed rest. Naomi sipped her coffee and watched him over the rim of her cup. What's your schedule like today? Meetings all afternoon. Might be late. He still wasn't looking at her. Johnson account is being difficult. There was no Johnson account. Naomi handled all their client relationships, and she knew every single account by heart. She smiled anyway. That's frustrating. Do you need me to step in? No, I've got it. Quick, defensive. You focus on the Henderson project. Of course. She watched him finish breakfast, kiss her cheek, and head out the door. The moment his car pulled out of the driveway, Naomi was moving. First, the home office. She'd installed a monitoring app on her own laptop last night, and now she logged into Trevor's computer using the password he didn't know she knew. He'd always been careless about security, writing passwords on sticky notes he thought he'd hidden. His email was a goldmine. 3 years. The affair had been going on for 3 years, starting at a business conference in Atlanta. Vanessa worked in marketing for one of their competitors. The emails were detailed, intimate, discussing not just their relationship but plans for the future. Plans that involved Naomi being out of the picture. Naomi downloaded everything to an encrypted external drive. Every email, every photo, every message. She found bank statements showing transfers to an account she didn't recognize. $50,000 over the past year, moved in small amounts that wouldn't trigger automatic alerts. She photographed everything with her phone, backed it up, and left the office exactly as she'd found it. Next call, the attorney. She chose Caroline Rodriguez, a lawyer with a reputation for destroying cheating spouses in court. Caroline's assistant scheduled an emergency consultation for that afternoon. Then the forensic accountant. A recommendation from Caroline's office. Jerome Washington agreed to begin investigating immediately, discreetly. Naomi went to work like it was any other day. She attended meetings, reviewed contracts, smiled at colleagues who had no idea her world had imploded. She had lunch with Tamara, her best friend since college, and almost told her everything. But something held her back. The fewer people who knew, the less chance of Trevor finding out before she was ready. You okay? Tamara asked over salads. You seem distracted. Just tired? The travel is catching up with me. Girl, you need a vacation. A real one, not those working trips with Trevor. Maybe you're right. That afternoon, Caroline Rodriguez sat across from Naomi in a sleek conference room with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city. She was in her 50s, with silver hair cut and a sharp bob and eyes that missed nothing. Tell me everything, Caroline said. Naomi did. She started with the overheard conversation and worked backward, detailing every red flag she'd ignored, every strange behavior she'd explained away. She showed Caroline the evidence she'd already gathered. Caroline listened without interrupting, making occasional notes on her legal pad. When Naomi finished, Caroline sat back and studied her. You're handling this remarkably well. I don't feel like I'm handling it at all. Trust me, you are. Most people in your situation come in here falling apart. You came in with evidence, documentation, and a clear head. Caroline tapped her pen against her pad. Here's what's going to happen. We're going to build an airtight case. Financial fraud, possible insurance fraud, embezzlement from marital assets. By the time we're done, Trevor won't know what hit him. I want him to lose everything. Naomi's voice was steady. Everything he tried to take from me. He will. But we need to be smart about this. No confrontations yet. Keep pretending everything is normal. Let him think he's getting away with it. Meanwhile, we gather every piece of evidence we can find. Jerome Washington, the forensic accountant, had similar advice when they met an hour later. He was younger than Naomi expected, maybe 35, with kind eyes and a gentle voice that contradicted his shark reputation in court. I've started preliminary analysis of the documents you provided, Jerome said, spreading papers across the conference table. Trevor's been sloppy. He's moving money but he's not covering his tracks well. I can trace every dollar. How much are we talking about? From what I can see so far. At least $300,000 from business accounts alone. Probably more. Give me 2 weeks and I'll have a complete financial history of every account he's touched. Naomi felt sick. $300,000. Money they'd earned together that she'd worked for, just handed over to his mistress. There's something else, Jerome said carefully. The life insurance policy he mentioned. I checked. He actually increased it twice in the past 18 months. It's currently at $3 million, not $2. $3 million. The amount of money Trevor thought her life was worth. I need you to be very careful, Jerome continued. Don't change your routines, don't let him know you suspect anything. Men who see this much money slipping away can become unpredictable. You think he'd actually hurt me? I think you overheard him wishing you were dead. So yes, I think you need to be careful. Naomi drove home in a daze. She stopped at the grocery store, bought ingredients for Trevor's favorite dinner, and came home to cook it. She set the table with their good dishes, lit candles, even put on the dress Trevor used to say he loved. When he came home 2 hours late, smelling like perfume that wasn't hers, she smiled and served him dinner. This is nice, Trevor said, surprised. What's the occasion? No occasion. I just wanted to do something special for my husband. The lie tasted like ash in her mouth, but she swallowed it down with her wine and kept smiling. Trevor relaxed, talking about his fake meetings with the fake Johnson account. Naomi nodded in all the right places, asked appropriate questions, laughed at his jokes. She was the perfect wife. And all the while she was planning his destruction. The private investigator's name was Monica Chin, and she came highly recommended by Caroline. They met at a coffee shop across town, somewhere Trevor would never go. I've been following Trevor for 3 days, Monica said, sliding a folder across the table. He's not subtle. The folder contained photos. Trevor and Vanessa at restaurants, walking hand in hand through parks, kissing in parking garages. One photo showed them entering a luxury apartment building downtown. That's her place, Monica explained. Paid for by an LLC registered to Trevor. He visits 3 to 4 times a week, usually in the evenings when he tells you he's working late. Naomi stared at a photo of Trevor looking at Vanessa the way he used to look at her. Happy. Completely at ease. In love. There's more. Monica pulled out another set of documents. Trevor's been communicating with someone about offshore accounts. I can't get details without a court order, but the email chain suggests he's been moving significant money overseas. Can we get a court order? Caroline's working on it. But in the meantime, I've documented everything. Bank visits, meetings with financial advisors, phone calls. I even got audio of him and Vanessa discussing their plans. Monica pulled out her phone and played a recording. Trevor's voice clear as day. Once the divorce is final, we can access everything. She'll get something obviously, but I've hidden most of the assets. She won't even know what she's lost. Naomi's hand trembled around her coffee cup. He's planning to divorce me? According to what I've heard, he's been consulting with an attorney about the best way to minimize what you'd get in a settlement. He thinks he's been clever, hiding money, setting up shell corporations. Monica smiled grimly. He hasn't been clever enough. Jerome had been right. The deeper they dug, the more money they found. Trevor had established multiple LLCs, moved funds through various accounts, purchased property in Vanessa's name using marital assets. He'd even taken out business loans using Naomi's signature, forged so perfectly she might not have noticed if she hadn't been looking. This is fraud, Caroline said during their next meeting. Multiple counts. We're not just talking about a messy divorce anymore. We're talking about criminal charges. Good. Naomi's voice was hard. I want him to face consequences. He will. But we need everything lined up perfectly before we move. One mistake and he could destroy evidence or flee. How much longer? 2 more weeks. Jerome needs to finish tracing the offshore accounts, and we need to secure all the evidence in a way that can't be challenged in court. 2 more weeks of pretending. 2 more weeks of sleeping next to a man who wished her dead. 2 more weeks of cooking dinner and making small talk and playing the devoted wife. Naomi threw herself into work during the day, meeting with clients, securing new contracts, building relationships independently of Trevor. She realized how much he'd been holding her back, claiming credit for her work, undermining her with clients. She scheduled meetings without telling him, presented proposals on her own, and watched as clients responded enthusiastically to her ideas. Ideas Trevor had previously shot down or claimed weren't ready. "You seem different lately," her colleague Patricia mentioned after a particularly successful presentation. "More confident or something." "I'm just taking more initiative," Naomi replied. What she didn't say, she was building her own foundation, creating a professional identity separate from Trevor. Because when everything fell apart, she'd need to stand on her own. At home, Trevor was getting nervous. Naomi could see it in the way he watched her, suspicion creeping into his eyes. "You've been busy lately," he said one night over dinner. "Just catching up on projects." "Why?" "No reason. You're just usually home earlier." "Is that a problem?" "No, of course not. I'm glad you're staying busy." But he wasn't glad. He was worried. And he should be. Monica reported that Trevor and Vanessa had been arguing. Their perfect fantasy was developing cracks. Vanessa wanted Trevor to file for divorce immediately. Trevor wanted to wait to make sure everything was in place first. "She's getting impatient," Monica said, "pushing him to leave you. But he's worried about the financial implications." "He should be," Naomi said. Jerome completed his investigation 2 days ahead of schedule. The final report was devastating. Trevor had stolen over $600,000 from their business and joint accounts. He'd purchased 3 properties in Vanessa's name. He'd established offshore accounts with over $1 million in them. He'd also been falsifying tax returns, claiming business expenses that didn't exist, and using company funds for personal purchases. "This is enough to send him to prison," Jerome said. "Easily 5 to 10 years if the prosecutor wants to push for it." Caroline compiled everything into a case file 3 inches thick. Financial records, witness statements, photographs, audio recordings, emails. Every piece of evidence they needed to destroy Trevor in divorce court and criminal court. "Are you ready?" Caroline asked. Naomi thought about the past 3 weeks. The performance she'd maintained. The strength she'd found in herself. The future she was building without Trevor. "I'm ready." "Then let's take him down." Naomi moved money first. Not all of it, nothing that would alert Trevor, but enough to ensure her security. She worked with a financial advisor Caroline recommended, establishing accounts in her name only, transferring funds that were legitimately hers. "We need to protect your assets before Trevor realizes what's happening," the advisor explained. "Once he's served with divorce papers, he might try to hide everything." "He's already been hiding everything." "Then we make sure what he hasn't hidden is secured." Naomi also changed passwords. Every account, every piece of software, every business platform they shared. She documented which changes she made and when, creating a trail that showed she was simply updating security, nothing suspicious. She reached out to business contacts, scheduling lunches and coffee meetings. People she'd worked with for years but hadn't connected with one-on-one because Trevor always insisted on joint meetings. The response was overwhelming. "I'm so glad you called," said Amanda from their biggest client account. "Trevor's been difficult to work with lately. Between you and me, we've been thinking about requesting that you handle our account exclusively." "Really? Really? You're the one who understands our needs, who comes up with the creative solutions. Trevor just shows up to take credit." Similar conversations happened all week. Client after client expressed preference for working with Naomi directly. She documented every conversation, every expression of confidence in her abilities. She also consulted with an intellectual property attorney about the business. Most of their successful products and services had been her ideas, her designs, her strategies. She wanted those protected. "If the business dissolves in the divorce, I want proof of what I created," she told the attorney. "Smart thinking. We'll compile documentation of your contributions, including emails, design files, client testimonials. If it comes to dividing assets, this will show you're the real value in the business." At night, Naomi packed. Not everything, just essentials. Clothes, documents, photographs of her family, jewelry her grandmother had left her. Things Trevor might try to hold hostage or destroy. She stored boxes at Tamara's house, telling her friend she was just clearing out clutter. Tamara looked at the boxes and then at Naomi. "When are you going to tell me what's really going on?" "Soon. I promise." I just need everything in place first. Are you safe? Yes. I'm taking care of it. Tamara hugged her tight. Whatever it is, I'm here. You know that, right? I know. Naomi also met with a therapist. Not because she was falling apart, though part of her wanted to, but because she knew what was coming would be brutal. She needed support. Dr. Williams was a specialist in trauma and betrayal. She listened to Naomi's story without judgment. You're handling this with remarkable strength, Dr. Williams said. I don't feel strong. I feel like I'm barely holding it together. Strength isn't the absence of pain. It's moving forward despite it. And that's exactly what you're doing. The sessions help. They gave Naomi a place to express the grief and rage she couldn't show anywhere else. She cried in Dr. Williams' office, screamed into pillows, let herself feel everything she was suppressing at home. Then she walked out, composed herself, and went back to playing the role. Trevor was getting sloppier. He stopped hiding his phone, left his laptop unlocked, came home late without bothering to invent excuses. I'll be out Friday night, he announced one evening. Business dinner. Okay. I'll probably work late too. He looked surprised. Really? We can't both neglect the business. Right. Yeah. Good thinking. He didn't even try to make it believable anymore. Naomi wondered if Vanessa had given him an ultimatum, if he was preparing to ask for a divorce on his terms. She almost felt sorry for him. He had no idea what was coming. Monica reported that Trevor had met with an attorney, someone cheap who promised to help him hide assets. The attorney was exactly the kind of person who would fold the moment real legal pressure appeared. He's planning to file within the month, Monica said. He thinks he's got everything set up perfectly. Let him file, Naomi said. It'll make our case stronger. Caroline agreed. If he files first, we can respond with our evidence immediately. Show the judge exactly what kind of man he is. Everything was falling into place. The evidence was compiled. The accounts were secured. The business relationships were established. Naomi had even started looking at office space for a potential new venture, something completely separate from Trevor. She met with a business consultant about starting her own firm. You have the client relationships, the expertise, and the reputation, the consultant said. You don't need Trevor. You never did. The words settled over Naomi like a revelation. She'd spent 15 years thinking they were a team, that she needed his business acumen and his connections. But the truth was simpler and more painful. She'd been carrying him the whole time. 1 week before Trevor filed for divorce, Naomi made her own filing. Caroline submitted the papers to the court along with a request for restraining orders, asset freezes, and immediate intervention from fraud investigators. Once these are served, everything happens fast, Caroline warned. Are you absolutely sure you're ready? Naomi thought about the woman who'd come home 3 weeks ago and overheard her husband wishing her dead. That woman had been devastated, broken. This woman was different. This woman was prepared. I'm ready, she said. Let's do this. Naomi chose Sunday dinner at Trevor's parents' house for the confrontation. His mother had insisted on a family meal, something they did once a month. Trevor's parents, his younger sister Nicole, her husband, their 2 kids. A full house. Perfect witnesses. Caroline's process server was waiting 3 blocks away. Monica had cameras set up outside the house, documenting everything. Jerome had provided a summary of his findings in language anyone could understand. Naomi wore her best dress, the deep blue one that made her skin glow. She did her makeup carefully, styled her hair. She looked beautiful, successful, completely in control. Trevor barely noticed. He was on his phone in the car, texting Vanessa, not even trying to hide it anymore. You look nice, his mother said when they arrived, hugging Naomi warmly. Doesn't she look beautiful, Trevor? Yeah, beautiful, Trevor said without looking up. Dinner was pot roast, Trevor's favorite. His mother had gone all out, wanting to celebrate Trevor's birthday, which was coming up next week. Everyone gathered around the table, passing dishes, making small talk. Naomi waited until everyone had food on their plates. I have something I need to share with everyone, she said, her voice clear and calm. Trevor looked up, annoyed. Can it wait until after dinner? No, it really can't. Naomi pulled a folder from her purse. Trevor, I'm filing for divorce. The room went silent. Complete shocked silence. Trevor's face went through several emotions in rapid succession. Confusion, anger, panic, then fake concern. Naomi, what are you talking about? Is this because I've been working late? We can talk about this at home. No, we really can't. Because you've been working late with your girlfriend, Vanessa. The woman you've been having an affair with for 3 years. Trevor's mother gasped. His father's fork clattered onto his plate. Nicole stared at Naomi with wide eyes. That's insane, Trevor said, standing up. Mom, Dad, she's clearly having some kind of breakdown. I think we should take her to a doctor. Sit down, Trevor. Naomi's voice was steel. I have proof. Photographs, emails, financial records. You've been stealing from our business to support your mistress. You've hidden over $600,000 in offshore accounts and properties. You've forged my signature on loan documents. She slid papers across the table to Trevor's father, who'd been a federal prosecutor before retirement. He put on his reading glasses and began reviewing the documents, his face growing darker with each page. You've also discussed wishing I would die so you could collect on the $3 million life insurance policy you took out on me without my full knowledge. The policy you planned to spend with Vanessa. Trevor's mother stood up so fast her chair fell over. Trevor Andrew Patterson, tell me this isn't true. Mom, she's making this up. She's jealous because the business is doing so well and… The business is doing well because of Naomi, his father interrupted, still reading. These documents show that clearly. They also show you've been embezzling, committing fraud, and planning to defraud your wife in a divorce settlement. He looked at his son with disgust. You forged her signature? I can explain. How do you explain wishing your wife dead? Naomi asked quietly. The room erupted. Trevor's mother was crying. Nicole was yelling at Trevor. His father was on the phone with someone, probably his lawyer friends. The kids were scared, asking what was happening. Through it all, Trevor stood frozen, his face pale, sweat beading on his forehead. There's more, Naomi said, loud enough to cut through the chaos. In approximately 5 minutes, you're going to be served with divorce papers. Following that, criminal fraud charges will be filed. The district attorney has already reviewed the case. You can't do this, Trevor said. That money is mine too. The business is mine. You're my wife. I was your wife. The wife you wished would die. The wife you stole from. The wife you planned to destroy financially. Naomi stood, gathering her purse. Now I'm the woman who's going to watch you lose everything. The doorbell rang. Trevor's father answered it and returned with official-looking papers. Trevor Patterson? The process server said, appearing in the dining room. You've been served. Trevor took the papers with shaking hands. His mother was sobbing openly now. His father looked like he'd aged 10 years. Nicole just stared at her brother like she didn't know him. How could you? His mother asked. How could you do this to Naomi? To our family? She's lying. Trevor shouted. She's making this all up because she wants to take everything. I have the evidence, Naomi said calmly. Multiple witnesses. Phone records. Bank statements. Emails where you discussed killing me. Would you like me to share those too? Trevor's father stood. Get out. Dad. I said get out of my house. You're a disgrace to this family and everything we taught you. Mom, please. Your father's right. His mother's voice was cold. I don't want to see you until you've made this right with Naomi. If you even can. Naomi watched Trevor's world crumble around him. Part of her felt nothing. Part of her felt everything. She walked over to Trevor's mother and hugged her. I'm sorry this is happening like this, Naomi said softly. But I needed witnesses who could verify what I've shared. You have nothing to apologize for, his mother said, holding Naomi tight. Nothing. You're the daughter I always wanted. Trevor is the one who destroyed this family. Naomi left the house with her head high. She got into her car, drove 3 blocks and pulled over. Then she let herself shake. Let herself cry. Let herself feel the weight of what she'd just done. Her phone rang. Caroline. It's done? The attorney asked. It's done. Good. Now the real fight begins. Trevor fought dirty. His attorney, a slick divorce specialist named Grant Thornton, filed motions to freeze all assets, claiming Naomi was trying to hide money. He accused her of falsifying evidence, of having an affair herself, of being mentally unstable. Every accusation was a lie, and everyone had to be disproved in court. This is standard, Caroline said during one of their strategy sessions. When a spouse has no real defense, they attack character instead. It won't work. The preliminary hearings were brutal. Trevor sat across the courtroom with Grant, wearing expensive suits and a wounded expression, playing the victim. He claimed Naomi had become paranoid, that her accusations were fantasy, that he was just a devoted husband trying to save his marriage. Judge Patricia Morrison was not impressed. Mr. Patterson, she said, reviewing the financial documents Jerome had prepared, you're claiming you had no knowledge of these offshore accounts? I don't even know what those documents are. My wife handles the finances. Actually, Caroline stood, the business financial records show that Mr. Patterson has exclusive control of all business accounts. Mrs. Patterson's access was removed 8 months ago without her knowledge. That's a lie, Trevor shouted. Judge Morrison's gavel came down hard. Mr. Patterson, you will control yourself in my courtroom or I'll hold you in contempt. Jerome took the stand and methodically destroyed Trevor's claims. Every transaction traced. Every forged signature identified. Every hidden account exposed. By the time he finished, the judge's expression had gone from skeptical to openly disgusted. Your Honor, Caroline said, we're also prepared to present evidence of Mr. Patterson's affair, including recordings where he discusses wishes for his wife's death. I'd like to hear those, the judge said. Monica's recordings played in the silent courtroom. Trevor's voice, clear and damning, I wish she would just die so I can be free. Trevor's face went white. Grant tried to object, claiming the recordings were obtained illegally. Monica calmly explained how she'd been hired to investigate, how the recordings were made in public spaces, perfectly legal. The judge ordered a full asset freeze and awarded Naomi temporary full control of the business. Trevor was ordered to move out of the family home immediately and was forbidden from accessing any business accounts. This is temporary until trial, Judge Morrison said, but I'm extremely troubled by what I've heard today. Mr. Patterson, I strongly suggest you consider settlement negotiations. Outside the courtroom, Trevor grabbed Naomi's arm. You're destroying me. Naomi pulled free. I'm holding you accountable. There's a difference. I'll fight this. I'll take you for everything. You already tried that. It didn't work out well for you. Security had to escort Trevor away when he tried to follow Naomi to her car. The criminal charges came next. The district attorney, a tough prosecutor named Angela Foster, had reviewed all the evidence and decided to pursue the case aggressively. Financial fraud, forgery, embezzlement, Angela listed during their meeting. If we can prove intent regarding the life insurance, we might be able to add conspiracy to commit fraud as well. What about Vanessa? Naomi asked. She's cooperating. In exchange for reduced charges, she's providing testimony about Trevor's plans and her involvement. Vanessa, it turned out, was just as much a victim as an accomplice. Trevor had lied to her too, promising he was already divorced, that the money was his alone. When she discovered he was still married, he'd threatened her, claimed she was complicit in his fraud, and said he'd destroy her if she left. She's scared of him, Angela said, and she's willing to testify against him to save herself. Naomi felt a complex mix of emotions about that. Vanessa had still slept with her husband, still accepted money that wasn't his to give. But she'd also been manipulated by the same man who'd manipulated Naomi for 15 years. The trial date was set for 3 months out. In the meantime, Naomi focused on rebuilding her life. She officially launched her own consulting firm, Naomi Patterson Strategic Solutions. Within 2 weeks, 5 of her former shared clients had signed contracts with her new company. Within a month, she had 10 new clients she'd never worked with before. Your reputation is impeccable, one new client said. Everyone knows you were the real talent in that partnership. Naomi hired 3 employees, a junior consultant, an administrative assistant, and a marketing specialist. She leased office space in a modern building downtown, decorated it in cool blues and grays, professional and calming. She also started the difficult process of separating her identity from Trevor's. Changing her name back to Naomi Richardson, her maiden name. Updating her professional profiles. Creating a new brand that was entirely her own. Trevor spiraled. He lost his business license pending the fraud investigation. Most clients dropped him immediately. His girlfriend had turned state's witness. His parents wouldn't speak to him. His sister had blocked him on everything. He called Naomi repeatedly, leaving voicemails that ranged from begging to threatening. Please Naomi, we can fix this. Just drop the charges and we can work something out. You've made a huge mistake. I'll ruin you. You'll never work in this industry again. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I never meant for any of this to happen. I still love you. Naomi deleted every message without listening to the end. She changed her number and didn't give him the new one. The preliminary settlement negotiations went nowhere. Trevor wanted to keep the house, half the business assets, and his retirement accounts. He was willing to give Naomi the debt he'd created. Absolutely not, Caroline said. We're going to trial. Good, Naomi replied. I want a jury to hear exactly what he did. Therapy became Naomi's anchor. 3 times a week, she sat in Dr. Williams' office and processed the trauma of discovering that her husband had wished her dead, had stolen from her, had planned to destroy her financially. "I keep thinking about all the signs I missed," Naomi said during one session. "The late nights, the distance, the way he stopped really seeing me. How did I not know?" "Because you trusted him," Dr. Williams said gently. "Trust isn't a weakness, Naomi. His betrayal of that trust says everything about him and nothing about you." "I feel so stupid." "You're not stupid. You're human. You loved your husband and believed in your marriage. That's normal. That's healthy. What he did is neither of those things." The sessions helped, but some days were harder than others. Naomi would be fine running her business, meeting with clients, and then she'd see a couple holding hands or hear a song that reminded her of her wedding, and grief would hit like a wave. She joined a support group for women going through divorce. Every Tuesday night, she sat in a circle with 10 other women and shared her story. Listened to theirs. Found strength in the shared experience of betrayal and survival. "My husband drained our accounts and moved to Vegas," one woman shared. "Left me with 3 kids and nothing. Mine convinced me I was crazy for years," another said. "Made me think I was imagining the affair even when I had proof." Naomi's story shocked them. The death wish, the insurance policy, the systematic theft. But they understood. They'd all been betrayed by men they trusted completely. "How are you so strong?" someone asked. "I'm not strong," Naomi said. "I'm just stubborn. I refuse to let him win." Her friendship with Tamara deepened. Tamara had been furious when Naomi finally told her everything. "I could kill him," Tamara had said, only half joking. "Seriously? I know people." Now Tamara was Naomi's constant support. Girls' nights with wine and movies. Long phone calls when Naomi couldn't sleep. Showing up at the office with lunch on days Naomi forgot to eat. "You're going to get through this," Tamara said one night as they watched terrible reality TV and ate ice cream. "And when you do, you're going to be unstoppable." Naomi's business thrived. Word spread about her expertise, her integrity, her results. She hired 2 more consultants and had to turn down clients because her team was at capacity. "We need to expand," her marketing specialist, Bria, said during a team meeting. "You could franchise this model, go national." "Let's stabilize first," Naomi said. "Make sure we're solid before we grow." But the idea took root. She started researching expansion strategies, talking to business consultants, planning for a future bigger than anything she'd imagined. She also bought a new house. Nothing huge, but it was hers alone. A modern townhouse with floor-to-ceiling windows, a gourmet kitchen, and a home office with the perfect lighting. She decorated it in cool tones, blues and silvers and grays, peaceful and calming. The first night in her new place, Naomi sat on the floor surrounded by boxes and realized she was happy. Not happy like before when she'd been living in ignorance. But genuinely happy, the kind that came from knowing herself, from building something real. Her phone rang. A known number. She almost didn't answer, but something made her pick up. "Naomi Patterson? Richardson. I go by Naomi Richardson now." "I'm sorry, Ms. Richardson. This is Isaiah Bennett. I'm an attorney with the Domestic Violence Legal Clinic. Your attorney, Caroline Rodriguez, gave me your number. I hope that's okay. What can I do for you, Mr. Bennett?" "Isaiah, please. I'm working with a woman whose situation is very similar to yours. Financial abuse, hidden assets, life insurance concerns. She's terrified to leave because her husband has threatened her. Caroline thought you might be willing to talk to her, share your experience." Naomi's first instinct was to say no. She was barely holding her own life together. But then she thought about the support group, about how much it had helped to hear other women's stories. "What's her name?" "Christina. She's 32, 2 young children, and her husband has been stealing from her for years. He's told her she'll never survive without him." "I'll talk to her," Naomi said. "Give her my number." Christina called the next day. Her voice was shaky, scared. Naomi listened to her story and heard echoes of her own experience. The gaslighting, the financial control, the threats disguised as concern. "You can leave," Naomi told her. "It's terrifying and it's hard, but you can do it. And there are people who will help you." They talked for 2 hours. By the end, Christina was crying but determined. "Thank you," she said. "I thought I was alone." "You're not alone. None of us are." Isaiah called back a week later. Christina filed for divorce. She's moving into a safe house with her kids. Your conversation gave her the courage to leave. I'm glad I could help. I have 5 more women in similar situations. Would you be willing to talk to them too? Naomi thought about it. She was busy, overwhelmed, still healing. But she also remembered how isolated she'd felt, how desperate. "Yes," she said. "I'll talk to them." It became a regular thing. Once a week, Isaiah would connect Naomi with a woman trapped in financial abuse. Naomi would share her story, offer practical advice, provide hope. "You should formalize this," Isaiah said after a month. "Create a program, a foundation maybe. These women need ongoing support, not just one conversation." The idea stuck with Naomi. She started researching nonprofits focused on financial literacy and domestic abuse. She talked to experts, studied existing programs, identified gaps in services. "What if we created something specifically for women leaving financially abusive relationships?" she asked Tamara one night. "Legal support, financial planning, job training, therapy. Everything in one place." "That would be amazing," Tamara said. "You should do it. After the trial. Once everything with Trevor is settled." After the trial, Tamara agreed. But Naomi was already planning, already imagining a future where her pain became purpose, where she helped other women find the strength she'd had to build herself. Isaiah Bennett became a regular presence in Naomi's life. Their weekly calls to discuss the women he was connecting her with gradually included conversations about their own lives, their work, their hopes. He was different from Trevor in every way. Where Trevor had been flashy and loud, Isaiah was quiet and thoughtful. Where Trevor had demanded attention, Isaiah listened intently. Where Trevor had taken credit for others' work, Isaiah championed the women he represented without expectation of recognition. "How did you get into this work?" Naomi asked during one of their calls. "My mother," Isaiah said. "She left an abusive marriage when I was 10. No money, no support, just determination to give her kids a better life. I watched her struggle for years. When I became a lawyer, I knew I wanted to help women like her." That's beautiful. It's necessary. The legal system isn't designed to protect women in these situations. It's designed to be neutral, which usually means it favors whoever has more money and power. "I try to level the field." They met in person for the first time at a domestic violence awareness event. Naomi had agreed to speak on a panel about financial abuse. Isaiah was moderating. He was younger than she'd imagined, maybe late 30s, with kind brown eyes and an easy smile. Tall, lean, dressed professionally but not ostentatiously. When he introduced her to the audience, his words were genuine and thoughtful. Naomi Richardson is a survivor who chose to transform her experience into advocacy. She's helping women every day to recognize financial abuse and find paths to freedom. After the event, they grabbed coffee. Just coffee, nothing that felt like a date, but something shifted. The phone conversations became face-to-face meetings. Professional collaboration became friendship. "I'm not looking for a relationship," Naomi told Tamara after she'd had dinner with Isaiah for the third time. "I'm still going through a divorce. I'm still healing." "I know," Tamara said. "But you're also allowed to have friends. You're allowed to enjoy someone's company. It feels complicated. Everything feels complicated right now. That doesn't mean it's wrong." Isaiah never pushed. He respected Naomi's boundaries, never made assumptions, never expected more than she was ready to give. They talked about work, about cases, about the foundation Naomi was planning. "You should call it the Richardson Foundation," Isaiah suggested. "Your name carries weight now. Women know who you are, know what you've overcome. It feels presumptuous. It's not. It's powerful. You've earned the right to put your name on something that helps others." Slowly, carefully, their friendship deepened. Isaiah would text her funny articles about their industry. Naomi would send him updates about the women she'd talked to. They'd meet for lunch to discuss case strategies for the women Isaiah represented. He was there the day Trevor's criminal trial started. Naomi had mentioned it in passing, and Isaiah showed up at the courthouse. "You don't have to be here," Naomi said, surprised to see him. "I know. I wanted to be. If that's okay." It was more than okay. Having Isaiah there, a steady presence in the back of the courtroom, helped Naomi get through the hardest parts of the trial. The trial lasted 3 weeks. Witness after witness testified to Trevor's fraud, his affairs, his manipulation. Vanessa took the stand, tearful and apologetic, explaining how Trevor had lied to her, used her, threatened her when she wanted to leave. Jerome presented the financial evidence, showing exactly how much Trevor had stolen and where he'd hidden it. Monica shared her investigation findings, including the recordings of Trevor wishing Naomi dead. Trevor's defense was weak. Grant tried to claim Trevor had made mistakes but hadn't acted with criminal intent. The jury didn't buy it. Guilty on all counts. Embezzlement, fraud, forgery. 5 to 8 years in prison. Naomi sat in the courtroom and felt nothing but emptiness. Not satisfaction, not joy, just the hollow realization that the man she'd once loved was going to prison. Outside the courthouse, reporters surrounded her. Naomi read a prepared statement. Justice has been served. I hope this case sends a message that financial abuse is a crime, and victims deserve protection and support. Isaiah drove her home. They didn't talk much, just sat in comfortable silence. When they arrived at her townhouse, he walked her to the door. Are you okay? He asked. I don't know. I should be happy, right? He's going to prison. I won. Winning doesn't mean it doesn't hurt. Naomi started crying then, tears she'd been holding back for months. Isaiah didn't try to fix it, didn't offer platitudes. He just held her while she cried, patient and steady. Thank you, she said when she finally pulled away. For being here. For understanding. Always, Isaiah said simply. The divorce was finalized 2 weeks later. Judge Morrison awarded Naomi the house, the business assets, and significant damages for emotional distress and financial fraud. Trevor's attorney didn't even fight it. With Trevor in prison, there was no point. Naomi Richardson was officially single for the first time in 17 years. Free from Trevor, free from the marriage, free to build whatever life she wanted. She celebrated with Tamara, with her support group, with her employees. Then she went home to her quiet townhouse and sat in the peaceful silence, feeling the weight of possibility. Her phone buzzed. Text from Isaiah. Congratulations on your freedom. Let me know if you need anything. Naomi smiled. She didn't need anything. But she wanted to see him, wanted to continue building whatever this friendship was becoming. She texted back. Dinner tomorrow? My treat. To celebrate new beginnings. His response was immediate. I'd love that. 6 months after Trevor's conviction, Naomi stood in front of a room full of reporters and announced the launch of the Richardson Foundation for Financial Freedom. This foundation exists to help women recognize and escape financial abuse, she said, her voice strong and clear. We provide legal assistance, financial planning, job training, and therapeutic support. Everything a woman needs to rebuild her life with dignity and independence. The foundation had been months in the making. Naomi had worked with lawyers, accountants, and nonprofit experts to create a comprehensive program. She'd secured funding from corporate sponsors, individual donors, and grants. She'd hired a staff of 12, including 3 attorneys, 2 financial advisors, and 4 counselors. The response was overwhelming. Within the first week, over 200 women reached out asking for help. Within a month, they'd served 50 clients. Within 6 months, they'd helped over 300 women leave abusive situations. You're changing lives, Isaiah said. He'd become the foundation's lead legal counsel, working pro bono while maintaining his private practice. We're changing lives, Naomi corrected. This is a team effort. The foundation office was bright and welcoming, designed to feel safe rather than institutional. Comfortable furniture, natural light, private consultation rooms where women could share their stories without fear. Naomi personally met with many of the women who came through the doors. She listened to their stories, saw herself in their experiences, and helped them find paths forward. My husband controls all the money, one woman said during an intake. I don't even have access to our bank accounts. We're going to change that, Naomi assured her. Our financial advisor will help you establish accounts in your name, build credit, understand your rights. You're not trapped. Christina, the first woman Naomi had helped, became a volunteer. She'd successfully divorced her abusive husband, gotten a job, and was building a new life with her children. You saved me, Christina told Naomi. I want to help save others. The foundation grew quickly. They opened a second location across town. Then a third in a neighboring city. Naomi started getting requests to franchise the model, to help other cities establish similar programs. You're building an empire of empowerment, Tamara joked. I'm just trying to help, Naomi said. But she was proud. Proud of what she'd created, proud of the women she was helping, proud of transforming her pain into something meaningful. Her consulting business was thriving too. She'd hired a managing partner to handle day-to-day operations, allowing her to focus on strategic growth and the foundation. Revenue had tripled in the past year. You're unstoppable, Bria, her marketing director, said. Seriously, is there anything you can't do? Naomi had also started speaking professionally about financial abuse, giving talks at conferences, universities, and corporate events. Every speaking fee went directly to the foundation. Knowledge is power, she told audiences. But only if we share it. Too many women suffer in silence because they don't know what financial abuse looks like, don't know they have options. She shared her story openly now. The death wish. The stolen money. The systematic manipulation. It was hard every time reopening those wounds, but worth it when women approached her afterward with tears in their eyes. I thought I was the only one, they'd say. Thank you for speaking out. Trevor remained in prison. Naomi had heard through mutual acquaintances that he was struggling, that prison wasn't kind to white-collar criminals who'd stolen from their wives. She felt nothing about it. Not satisfaction, not pity, nothing. He'd made his choices. These were his consequences. His family had reached out several times. His mother called occasionally, apologizing again, asking how Naomi was doing. Nicole sent cards on holidays. His father had written a letter, telling Naomi she'd always be family to them, regardless of Trevor's actions. You didn't just lose a husband, his mother had said during one call. We lost a son we thought we knew. But we gained you and we're grateful for that. The relationships were complicated but genuine. Naomi appreciated their support, their understanding that she'd been the victim, not the villain. One evening, Isaiah took Naomi to dinner at an elegant restaurant downtown. They'd been seeing each other regularly for months, their friendship evolving into something more. But they'd moved slowly, carefully, respecting Naomi's need to heal. I have something to tell you, Isaiah said over dessert. That sounds serious. It is. I'm in love with you, Naomi. I have been for months. And I don't need you to say it back. I just need you to know. Naomi's heart raced. She'd known her feelings were deepening, but hearing the words out loud was different. I'm scared, she admitted. My last marriage ended with my husband wishing I was dead. The idea of trusting someone that completely again terrifies me. I understand. And I'm not asking you to trust me completely right now. I'm just asking you to let me keep showing up, keep being patient, keep proving that not all men are Trevor. Naomi reached across the table and took his hand. You've already proven that. You prove it every day. So what do you want to do with that information? I want to keep taking this slow. Keep building something real. And maybe, eventually, I'll be ready to say those words back to you. Isaiah smiled. I can wait. You're worth waiting for. They left the restaurant hand in hand, walking through the cool evening air. Naomi felt lighter than she had in years. Happy. Hopeful. Free. Her phone buzzed with a notification. Another woman had reached out to the foundation, asking for help. Naomi read the message and immediately began composing a response. You're working, Isaiah observed. Someone needs help. Someone always needs help. But right now, you deserve to enjoy your evening. Naomi put her phone away. He was right. She'd spent so long in survival mode, fighting mode, helping mode. She deserved moments of simple happiness. You're right, she said. Tonight is just for us. They walked to a nearby park and sat on a bench, watching the city lights reflect off the river. Naomi leaned her head on Isaiah's shoulder and thought about how far she'd come. A year ago, she'd been devastated, broken, wondering if she'd survive. Now she was thriving. Building a business. Running a foundation. Falling in love with a man who respected her strength instead of fearing it. What are you thinking about? Isaiah asked. How impossible this would have seemed a year ago. All of it. The foundation, the business, you. I couldn't have imagined any of this. You created it all. You took your pain and built something beautiful. We created it. I couldn't have done any of this alone. Maybe not. But the strength was always yours. I just helped channel it. Naomi sat up and looked at Isaiah, really looked at him. This kind man who'd shown up without expectations, who'd supported without demanding, who'd loved without conditions. I think I'm falling in love with you too, she said quietly. Isaiah's smile was brilliant. Yeah. It terrifies me. But yeah. He kissed her then, gentle and patient, asking nothing she wasn't ready to give. And for the first time since overhearing Trevor wish her dead, Naomi felt truly alive. Orchestrated narrative conclusion showcasing protagonist's triumph and transformation. This is the final chapter. I need to show Naomi's complete transformation, her thriving life, her happiness with Isaiah, and the ongoing success of her foundation. This should be uplifting and show that she's not just survived but truly built a better life. 1,000 words. 1 year later, Naomi stood at a podium addressing 300 people at the Richardson Foundation's first annual gala. The event was raising money to expand their services to 5 more cities. She wore a stunning gown in deep sapphire blue, her natural hair styled in elegant twists. Diamond earrings that she'd bought herself caught the light. She looked powerful, successful, happy. Isaiah sat at the front table, beaming with pride. A year ago, Naomi began, I was just beginning to understand what it meant to rebuild a life from ashes. Today I stand here having helped over 800 women do the same thing. The Richardson Foundation has provided legal assistance, financial planning, job training, and counseling to women across 3 states. We've recovered over $12 million in stolen assets. We've helped women leave situations where they felt trapped and powerless. The audience applauded. Naomi waited for quiet before continuing. But numbers don't tell the whole story. Each woman who walks through our doors carries her own pain, her own fear, her own strength. I've met mothers who stayed in abusive marriages because they couldn't figure out how to support their children alone. I've met successful professionals who didn't realize their partners were stealing from them until it was almost too late. I've met women who believed they deserved the abuse because they'd been told so many times that they were worthless. Naomi's voice grew stronger. Every single one of them was wrong. They didn't deserve abuse. They weren't worthless. They were victims of systematic manipulation by people they trusted. And every single one of them found the courage to leave, to fight, to rebuild. That's what we celebrate tonight. Not just the foundation's success, but the strength of the women we serve. The standing ovation lasted a full minute. Naomi looked out at the crowd and saw Christina, now a paid counselor at the foundation. She saw women she'd personally helped, now volunteers helping others. She saw her team, her friends, her chosen family. We're expanding, Naomi announced when the applause died down. 5 new cities, 20 new staff members, and a national hotline for women seeking information about financial abuse. None of this would be possible without your support. Thank you for believing in this mission. Thank you for helping us change lives. The gala raised over $2 million. Corporate sponsors pledged ongoing support. 3 major universities requested partnerships to integrate financial abuse education into their programs. You did it, Isaiah said as they slow danced later that evening. The formal part of the event was over, and the remaining guests were enjoying music and conversation. We did it, Naomi corrected. You're the foundation's lead counsel. You're part of this. I'm so proud of you. I'm proud of us. Isaiah pulled back slightly, looking serious. I have something for you. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small box. Naomi's breath caught. Before you panic, Isaiah said with a gentle smile, this isn't what you think. Open it. Inside was a beautiful bracelet, silver with a single sapphire stone. Engraved on the inside were the words, strength, freedom, love. It's perfect, Naomi whispered. I wanted to give you something that represents everything you've become. Your strength in facing Trevor and fighting back. Your freedom in building a life on your terms. And our love, which grows stronger every day. I love you, Naomi said. The words came easily now, natural and true. I love you too. And someday when you're ready, I'll ask you the question that box made you think of. But not today. Today is about celebrating everything you've built. They danced until the music ended, then helped clean up alongside the foundation staff. It was nearly midnight when they finally left, exhausted and happy. Naomi's consulting business had expanded to 6 offices across the country. Her managing partner ran daily operations, but Naomi remained actively involved in strategic decisions and major client relationships. The business had won several industry awards and was regularly featured in business publications. How do you do it all? Reporters asked during interviews. The business, the foundation, maintaining work-life balance? I don't do it alone, Naomi always answered. I have an incredible team at the business, amazing staff at the foundation, and a support system that keeps me grounded. And I've learned that success isn't about doing everything yourself. It's about building systems that work without you having to be everywhere at once. She'd also learned to set boundaries. She took weekends off. She went to therapy regularly. She spent time with Tamara, with Isaiah's family, with the friends who'd supported her through the darkest times. Trevor was eligible for parole in 3 years. Naomi had been notified and asked if she wanted to attend the hearing. She'd declined. That chapter of her life was closed. She had no desire to reopen it. She'd heard through his mother that prison had changed him, that he'd finally accepted responsibility for his actions. Naomi was glad he'd found some measure of redemption, but it didn't change anything for her. He'd made his choices. She'd made hers. Hers had led to freedom. 6 months after the gala, Naomi published a book about her experience and the founding of the Richardson Foundation. From Betrayal to Empowerment, A Guide to Recognizing and Escaping Financial Abuse, became a bestseller. All proceeds went to the foundation. She did a book tour, speaking to packed audiences about financial literacy, recognizing abuse, and building strength from adversity. Women came to her signings with tears in their eyes, sharing their own stories, thanking her for giving voice to their pain. "You saved my life," one woman said at a signing in Chicago. "I read your book and realized I wasn't crazy. My husband was gaslighting me. I filed for divorce last week." "You saved your own life," Naomi told her. "I just helped you see what was already there." Isaiah proposed on a quiet Sunday morning in Naomi's townhouse. No fancy restaurant, no public spectacle. Just the two of them, coffee and breakfast, sunlight streaming through the windows. "I know we said we'd take things slow," Isaiah said, kneeling beside her chair. "And we have. We've built something real and strong and true. I want to spend the rest of my life building more with you. Will you marry me?" Naomi looked at this man who'd shown her what healthy love looked like. Who respected her boundaries, celebrated her success, supported her dreams. Who'd never once made her feel small or less than. Who loved her strength instead of fearing it. "Yes," she said without hesitation. "Absolutely yes." They planned a small ceremony for the following spring. Just close friends and family, intimate and meaningful. Naomi wore a dress in her favorite shade of blue. Isaiah cried when he saw her. His vows spoke of partnership, respect, and building a life of purpose together. Naomi's vows were simpler. "You showed me that love doesn't have to hurt. You proved that good men exist. You stood beside me while I rebuilt myself and never tried to take credit for my strength. You made me believe in forever again. I choose you every day for all my days." There wasn't a dry eye in the room. After the ceremony, during the small reception, Tamara pulled Naomi aside. "Remember when you called me 2 years ago, barely able to speak because you just overheard Trevor?" Tamara said. "You were so broken. So scared. Look at you now." Naomi looked around the room. Isaiah laughing with friends. Christina helping serve cake. Her foundation staff celebrating. Her business partners toasting her happiness. Her new family built not from blood but from choice and love. "I'm not the same person anymore," Naomi said. "No," Tamara agreed. "You're better. You're free." Free. The word settled over Naomi like a blessing. She was free from Trevor's manipulation, free from fear, free from the woman she'd been who'd accepted less than she deserved. She was free to build, to love, to help, to thrive. She was free to be exactly who she was meant to be. And standing there in her blue dress, surrounded by people who loved and respected her, married to a man who saw her as an equal partner, running a foundation that changed lives, leading a business that flourished, Naomi Richardson finally understood what happiness felt like. It felt like coming home to yourself. It felt like standing in your own power. It felt like choosing joy after surviving devastation. It felt like revenge of the best kind. Building a life so good that the people who tried to destroy you became irrelevant. Trevor had wished she would die so he could be free. Instead, Naomi had come alive in ways he could never imagine. And that was the sweetest victory of all.